So I burned my bridges and I had very little money, but I had this dream. I really knew that I wanted to build content. And I figured, what is the worst thing that can happen? And then you realize, holy shit, like this is actually valuable. It's not about being the best, the most famous person in the world. It's about being certain number of steps ahead of the people that you are teaching.
We have a guest with us in the studio today. His name is Jimmy Narraine. Jimmy is an entrepreneur, a corporate trainer, and a best-selling course author on Udemy who has more than 390,000 students and 80,000 five-star reviews, I think.
Something like this, yeah.
And right out the gate, people want to create successful courses. You've created successful courses. How many times did you fail before you managed to find your footing, before you found success, let's call it?
Ooh, getting into deep water right away. First of all, guys, thank you so much for having me.
Good to
I
have you on.
appreciate you. Thank you. It's a pleasure. Everybody watching, well, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time. So listen, in terms of failures, I had a bunch of failures in my life. And let me start from the beginning, actually, right? So I was born in post-communist Poland, right? Lots of anxiety issues, limiting beliefs. Didn't believe in myself. I had a lot of dreams, but I didn't truly believe that I could make them a reality. And you know, when you grow up like this, when your father's from Guyana, your mom is Polish, you're a mixed-race kid, and all the kids remind you that they are different, right? It's tricky to build a really healthy level of self-esteem, right? So I've been failing like all my life in small ways and big ways. So I got quite comfortable with this idea that, you know, failure is just a part of life, right? And then fast forward, I discovered personal development and I realized that I can essentially bend reality to my will, that I can make something out of myself. And that's when I decided I'm going to go to the UK to study and eventually pursue the corporate career. And that was actually the first failure on my part. You know, the reason
Corporate
I wanted
career
to...
was a failure?
Yes, so, you know, so I learned a lot from it. You know, I worked for Allianz and Goldman Sachs. I learned a lot, but I thought it was my dream, but it was somebody else's dream. I allowed the society to brainwash me. Now, of course, you know, everything happened for a reason. You know, because I went there, I learned the lessons and I pursued certain path, right? If you love your life right now, you should be grateful for whatever happened. But retrospectively, looking back, that was like one of the first major failures in my thinking, you know, assuming that I don't have my own answers, assuming that I always have to listen to other people telling me what I need to do. I didn't believe in myself enough. I didn't have enough confidence in my judgment to ask myself, man, what do you really want to do with your life? You know, so that was the first one. But specifically in the context of building courses, you know, I feel like just waiting way too long to get started. You know, just waiting way too long. I feel like oftentimes we're waiting for the green light to appear. But in life, most of the time, the light is either yellow or red, right?
But how long ago did you start producing these videos and courses?
So I started 10 years ago.
So you were in early.
Well, I was early for the industry, but I thought about it way before, right? And I was just holding myself back. So yes, objectively, I came in early, but I had those visions of creating content, of publishing books, right? Of making things happen way before. I just did not believe in myself and I was waiting for the perfect moment.
Because you're teaching people how to create best-selling courses on Mind Valley.
Yeah.
And do you think now is not too late for people to get in? Can people still get in and find this sort of success that you're finding?
This is a good question. And the simple answer is no, it's not too late. Because, right, like the past is just a construct. The past doesn't really exist. When you really think, what is the past, right? We are here in the present. We can think about the past and we can think about the future, but does it really exist? No, we have the present moment. So, you know, we can ponder, I wish I started earlier. I wish this, I wish that. But the only thing you can do is to get started right now. And you know, and yes, of course, there is more and more competition, but more and more people are taking courses, right? When I got started, there were no tools to build courses.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, what was it like to get started? Because like that was like the beginning of like video in a way on the internet, and then getting into courses. Were the video or the courses already video back then, or what was the format of the course that you first launched?
So I was making videos. I was making like talking head videos, but yeah, it was wild, wild west. Like not a lot of people were doing it. Like whenever I told my friends, "Hey, I want to build courses," they're looking at me. What are you talking about? Courses? What are courses? What is that? You want to make money online? What are you talking about? Right? So people were very resistant to that idea. So nowadays, yes, again, there's more competition, but more people take courses, and the path has been paved. Right now, there are all of those resources. You've got mentors, you've got processes that you can follow. So in many ways, it's easier than ever to build courses. And that's why, I waited too long for myself. And if you're watching this now, if you're listening to this, probably means you want to build something.
But
right?
I'd also argue, in addition to the course, let's say, field being saturated, the field of people, the amount of people teaching you how to create courses and teaching you how to get successful. Imagine having to shift through that if you don't have the backing, the knowledge of marketing or anything. Like, who do you trust? Who is a grifter and who is legit?
Yeah.
How do you shift through that? So that's the barrier of entry is shifting through all the stuff to get to the good part.
Yeah. So this is actually one of the challenges why people don't get started, because we are stuck in this paradox of choice. You're right. There are so many teachers claiming, to teach you how to make your first million in a week. Right. Yeah. And also, as you guys know this, right? We live in this world of short-term gratification. It's almost like,
what was that, the quote about getting rich?
Is this a quick get rich quick scheme? You better hope so, because you're not going to be here long enough to get rich slow.
So that's why the million in a week is attractive.
Yeah, that is true, right? But I see a lot of people who, subscribe to this idea. Yeah, I'm gonna learn how to make $1 million in a week. Yeah, but then 5 years later, they're in the same situation, right? So I feel like, we live in this culture of, okay, I want to get a six-pack. I'm gonna work out. 2 weeks later, don't have a six-pack. Okay, screw it. I'm just gonna quit, right? Want to make 10 grand in a week. Oh, a few weeks later, haven't made it. Okay, I'm just gonna start something new. People jump from thing to thing way too quickly, right? And I get this. We live in this paradox of choice. So the way you shift, the way you figure out who you listen to, right, is first of all, looking for the credibility in what they have created. A lot of people make those empty promises. I'll teach you X, Y, and Z. Well, but have you done it yourself? I think this is the first element. And the second thing...
That's the litmus test, basically.
Yeah. You want to dig in and you want to... Right? Because there are a lot of people who teach people about making money online, but all the money they ever made is by teaching how to make money online.
Classic.
So this is a classic thing, right? So you have to navigate through that. But another thing is that rather than getting stuck in that paradox of choice and waiting for the perfect mentor and perfect solution, I believe just find something and start small and test things out. I'm a victim of this myself, right? Of this type of thinking sometimes where, we overthink and we are stuck in the paradox of choice and we're waiting for the ideal golden solution. But when you do dating, right? When you go on a date with someone, like, do you meet that person and do you say, okay, I'm meeting you for the first time, and here is the plan for like another 27 dates, right? And the last one is gonna be like 2-week camping in the forest. And you got a sign like, we gotta make it happen. No, you don't do that, right? You go on a date, you see how you vibe. You don't vibe well, you go on a different date with a different person, right? You are flowing. You listen to your intuition. You see what's working, what's not working. Why are we not doing it with business? I think we should. We should be testing.
But for you, what was the moment of breakthrough when you realized, like, holy shit, I can do this? We can say shit on this podcast, by the way.
Okay, great.
Oh, and
let's say it
also,
all
like,
together. Shit. All right, the ice has been broken.
Did you quit the job before you found success?
I did something that I don't recommend. I burned my bridges. And I say I don't recommend it because I don't think that everyone should burn their bridges and then start a business. It can be quite dangerous, right? I think actually the opposite. It makes sense to test things out while you still have a job.
I guess
but what I did,
how much responsibility do you have? Do you have a family? Do you have children?
Exactly.
Do you have savings?
Exactly. But the way I did it, I had a job and I was in a 3-year relationship and I decided that the job wasn't serving me. I just didn't feel aligned. I could not work for someone else. And that was like, I had a couple of jobs before, like Allianz and Goldman, and then I had the startup job. And I thought that startup job is going to give me some freedom, which wasn't really the case. So I quit that job, and that same week I quit a relationship. So I burned my bridges and I had very little money, but I had this dream. I really knew that I wanted to build content. And I figured, what is the worst thing that can happen? If it works, great. If it doesn't work, I have my CV, I have my experience. I can always find a different job.
And a lot of shitty comments on Facebook.
Well, I got some funny comments on YouTube, that's for sure, initially. But I tell you what, I found a video crew, right? And I decided I paid them for 2 hours of their time. And when we started filming, they really tuned in. As I was talking, I was building this course on confidence. And the reason I did it is because I struggled with confidence, right? So I tried to teach people about the struggle that I had in my own life. So as I was talking about confidence, that crew, they were tuning in. And they told me after 2 hours, hey man, like, we really enjoy what you're talking about. We resonate with this. Let's figure out a way to work together. Right? And I don't remember the exact words they used, but the basic message was, here's your money, let's work together, let's make it happen. So I figured, okay, I can't really pay you a lot, so let me give you a percentage of my profits. Right? It's one of those wild deals. I can't pay you, I'll give you a percentage, you're gonna do your best, bring all of your gear, and instead of doing 2 hours, we may do 2 weeks. Right? Let's go to a studio. Let's make it happen. Let's make the most out of it and see what happens. And listen, worst case, we lose a bunch of time, but we get to know each other. We have some experience. Best case, we make a lot of money, right? So we did that. First month, made decent amount of money. Decent for back then. It was like $1,000 I made the first month, which, when you get started online, any dollar you make online, it's like, the feeling. It's like, holy shit, how is it even possible? I'm making money out of thin air. But here's the thing. The second month, you would expect it's going to go higher. Well, it didn't. It actually was lower. It was like $200+, like $290, $293, right? I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? So then you create more content. It goes a bit higher, but very, very slowly, right? So there were those moments when I questioned what I was doing, I have to say, right? But what kept me going were the testimonials from the people. Because I feel like, and I'm sure you can resonate with this, right? With what you guys are doing. When you get real testimonials from real people who tell you, hey, this stuff is actually helping me in my life. You see the real transformation. You realize, well, if I could transform a part of my, customer avatar audience, well, there are more people like this out there. Right? Like it's the living proof that what you teach or what you offer in terms of whatever product that you have there is helping people. Okay, now this is the living proof. Now we can get out there and scale.
Because we started this AI channel together on YouTube as well, and that's where my AI, the speaking stuff got started with all my speaking gigs, because I had this channel.
Yeah.
And at some point I didn't feel like it was going anywhere, because their market is again so saturated. Everyone's talking about AI, and I didn't want to be associated with like that part of the market, because everyone's a grifter. Everyone's just creating threads, the same thing, recycling the same old information. And I just wanted to actually provide value, and been trying to do that. Didn't have too much confidence in that area, but now seeing all the feedback, collecting the comments, collecting the testimonials, it's just like gives you so much power, even if you don't believe in yourself, that you see that the stuff you're putting out is actually helping other people. That's like the best feeling.
100%. I tell you what, like if you're getting started as well, I always tell people, rather than posting a product out there and then waiting for those testimonials, why not create like a beta group? I always believe in testing, just test things out, right? Nowadays it's so easy to test things, right? So say you build a digital product. Well, again, why make a big launch? Why make a big deal about it and then procrastinate for like 3 years, right? Till the trends completely change. Now just create like a mini product and get a bunch of people on board and just give it away for free. But tell them, hey, I'll give it to you, but I expect some feedback from you. So it's an exchange. People don't appreciate when they just get something for free when it comes too easily. So you say, well, this is a paid product, this is premium, but you are my avatar. This is going to help you. So here's what we're going to do, right? You're going to test drive it. You're going to benefit from it tremendously. And then we're going to talk about it and I'm going to help you. And normally I charge X amount for my consulting. I'll do it for free, but I expect raw feedback from you. I expect to hear not just what went well, but what is not working that well. And then what happens is that, you figure out what is working about the product, but also you find those ideas for improving it. And then you realize, holy shit, like this is actually valuable. And that gives you enough confidence to make that decision. Okay, I'm going to put it out there into the market, right? Yeah. And this prevents a lot of those situations where you put half-baked product out there. Because, a lot of people, well, there are two types of people, right? Well, there are more types of people, but there are two mistakes people make. Either they have the imposter syndrome and they feel like I'm not good enough. What I have to offer is not gonna help anybody. But in reality, they are experts and they actually have a lot of value, right? That's one. Or there are those people out there who think they know it all, but they actually don't. This is the classic Dunning-Kruger effect, right?
Yeah.
People who, it's interesting. People who don't know that much. We all have that friend, right? You sit at a table, you're eating dinner, and that dude is talking about how they're gonna kidnap you in Colombia when you go there, right? Or Brazil, and talking about it, and then you ask him, how many times have you been to Colombia? Well, I haven't yet, but everyone knows it's dangerous, right? So there are people out there, they don't know shit, and they keep talking about it. And then there's the opposite. I don't know which side people watching this are on, could be any of those. But the cool thing about testing is that if you are on the side of the imposter, well, you realize you are not an imposter because you're helping people. If you are on the side where you may think that you are way better than you actually are, well, great. Now you're getting feedback and people tell you, you know what, this is decent, but this is missing and that is missing. And the way you presented that could have been better. So now you improve. Either way, you win.
And now that you have a lot of reps in, because you have a bunch of courses.
Yeah.
So how do you vet what do you actually teach? So how do you research what people want to know?
Are you asking me, how do you come up with content, or how do you figure out where is the need?
How do you figure out where is the need?
Where's the need? Well, okay, so like number one thing is scratching your own itch. I think that is the lowest hanging fruit. I would recommend starting with this, right? You ask yourself, well, what do I need, right? Or what I needed in the past. I think that's the easiest way, right? Because when we want to teach people through digital products, we shouldn't aim. Okay, let me actually put it differently. It's not about being the best, the most famous person in the world. It's about being certain number of steps ahead of the people that you are teaching, right? You have to be relatable. You have to teach those who are on the journey you used to be a part of, right? So I feel like one of the easiest ways to ask yourself what journey I went through, what were the challenges that I managed to overcome, and then ask yourself, okay, what are people who are still on that journey? If you went through the journey, you made your mistakes, and you are here now, and you used to be here 5 years ago, well, just figure out what was the type of person you were back here. Ask yourself, what were my characteristics? What were my desires back then? What were my pain points? What were my aspirations, right? And then ask yourself, okay, based on that, how can I find people who still identify with that? And what you do is, as you're climbing that ladder, you basically extend your hand and you're like, hey, here you go. Here's my hand. Let me pull you up to where I am right now.
I guess after the first version of the course, you kind of start getting feedback anyway. And then you just build on that feedback and you get questions from the people there. So you just get content ideas, right?
Exactly. So actually, that's how I started, man. The first course was about building confidence. And again, I struggled with confidence. I figured, if I struggled with it, and a lot of people, they didn't believe. They're like, no, dude, you're a confident guy. I'm like, really? I wish you saw me getting ready for going out for like 3 hours, psyching myself up, right? Like, that's the part people did not see, but I really suffered from confidence issues. And I'm like, well, how many other people are out there that we think are confident, but they struggle with it? Now, many years later, I know that even those out there who appear like the embodiments of confidence, they still struggle, right? So anyhow, so I was scratching my own itch. I figured, let me help the type of person that I used to be, right? So someone's like, let me teleport myself to back in the day and talk to the younger version of myself, right? To this, 17, 18, 20-year-old Jimmy. What would I want to tell that guy? What that guy needed to hear? What were the exercises he needed to go through, right? So I started with that. And when you start with something like this, you can't really go wrong because you'll find your people. But then you're right. As you go through this journey, you get all of those clients. Now they're going to tell you, you know what? This is a great course, but I still struggle with public speaking. Yes, I believe in myself more, but when I get on a stage, I get the butterflies and my mouth is dry and I feel very panicky, and so how do I deal with that?
You don't anymore?
Huh?
You don't anymore?
Myself? No, I'm not anymore. No, but this is an example, right? But let's say someone tells me this and I'm like, okay, let me dig into it, right? Okay, I overcame my fear of public speaking. Let me teach my audience about it. Now, do I have to be the best public speaker in the world? No, but again, I have to be just some steps ahead of my audience. So now I make content about that and I listen I listen to the feedback, right? Oh, this is great, Jimmy. This is great. But what about some other thing, right? Now, if I don't know anything about that topic, I'm going to be honest with my audience. I'm going to say, oh, you want to learn about, I don't know, creating like crazy Excel spreadsheets? That's not my thing, you know, I'm not, or AI, that's not my thing. I'm not going to teach you about that, but I may know someone who can teach you about that, right? But whenever your audience mentions something that's within your knowledge, within your realm, sure, you go for it. And that's how you get ideas for creating more content.
That's definitely like helps in every aspect, right? Like not only course creation, but also like when you're building a product and you just get feedback and then you make the products better, and then it's like a kind of like a flywheel effect in a sense.
And in terms of that, are you familiar with the Jeff Walker's launch method?
Yeah, the launch formula.
Yeah. What do you think about that one? Just for the audience to explain, the way I remember it is basically when you don't have a course and you want to create a course, you just shout out to all your audience that, hey, I'm starting this course. It's going to be live cohort. We're all going to go through it together like 6 to 8 weeks. They pay you, you give the first talk, you do the intro, and then you start collecting questions around the topic that you want to do the course in. And every week you collect new questions, and then the next week you're teaching the people exactly what they want to know. So you, of course, have a rough outline, you put the course together, but doing this, you create a course and you have the content that your audience wants to know, so you know exactly what the people you're teaching are after and what they need and what their needs are. So have you approached any of your courses that way, or what do you think about the method in general?
Yeah, so I resonate with it. I think there are different methods out there that are similar in some ways, and I like this approach of just asking your audience. You know, oftentimes we are trying to pretend we know everything, but we don't, right? We are guessing a lot of the times. But when you talk to your audience very openly, and when you are completely open to their feedback without the judgment, without thinking, well, you know, nah, I don't resonate with that. No, that's your audience. You're supposed to serve them. When you're open to what they have to say, you cannot go wrong. And it's kind of like with dating, right? As guys, like we all know that sometimes we just don't listen, right? You know, let's face it. I mean, I just went for like a breakup after like a 5-year relationship. So
I always listen.
It's, you know, yeah, she may be watching, right? Miriam is watching over there.
I do not relate.
but know how it is, right? Sometimes we have great intentions. We try to provide solutions to problems, and like all female friends would tell you this, right? Like, you know, guys, sometimes we don't just want a solution. We need you to listen. It's about listening and giving us something completely different, right? But, you know, as guys, we're like, oh, you have a problem? Let me tell you how you can solve it. Here it is, verbal vomit. Bam, let's go. And I feel like with our audiences, it's oftentimes is similar. Not the same, but similar in the sense that we assume we know exactly what they need and how to help them. But if you really listen to them, when we listen in between the lines, we can learn so much, even about the language they speak, right? So that is important when you talk to your audience, when you figure out who is your customer avatar, what are their needs, what are their characteristics, pain points, what do they struggle with, what are their dreams, desires. When you really dig into it and give that person a name, or actually find that avatar within people that you actually know in real life. Maybe you have a friend, his name is Tom, and he's like a perfect avatar for who you want to serve. Now you can notice how that person speaks, what language they use. So let's say you are a female entrepreneur, just random example, right? Female entrepreneur, and you want to teach about assertiveness, right? You want to help women with assertiveness. You can make a lot of assumptions how you're going to teach it, what type of content you will create, what type of language you will use in your promo video to entice people to buy that course. But if you talk to that avatar and you actually listen to the language they are using, you may notice that a lot of those aspiring female entrepreneurs say, you know, I'm sick and tired of those alpha guys, you know, telling me what to do, right? I'm sick and tired of like those people like imposing on me, right? I'm sick and tired of like those big guys like telling me that I'm wrong. Okay, you hear this, now you can use it in your promo. You can say, hey, what's going on? My name is probably not Jimmy Narraine. I'm not a female entrepreneur, but hi, my name is Anna, whatever, you know. And in this course, I'm going to teach you how to become a more assertive female entrepreneur. Let me ask you, are you sick and tired of those times when you are in the office and those self-proclaimed alpha guys tell you what to do? right? You know this feeling deep in your stomach when there's this guy who thinks he knows it all and he's trying to impose on you his opinion. And you know better, but he wouldn't even let you talk. What do you do in those situations? Do you feel like you want to speak up, but you don't have enough confidence? Well, the good news is that you can solve it. Why? How do I know? Well, because I used to be just like this and I managed, right? And then you keep going on and on. But now whoever's in that avatar, when they hear your words, they are thinking, holy shit, like she knows exactly how I feel. And she has been there. She resonates with what I'm going through and I resonate with her. Whatever she's creating was made for me, right? This is the feeling you want to create in your audience.
Before, you also mentioned that after you created your first courses, during the first month, you managed to sell, what was it, like 2,000 worth?
It's like $1,000 first month.
$1,000 first
Second
month.
month was like less than 300.
Yeah.
Then went like 6. It was very slowly up.
But that was a while ago then.
Yeah, that was
as you mentioned, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Where did you start selling them? How did you even start selling the courses?
I started selling them on Udemy.
Oh, you started on Udemy.
I started on
Udemy
Udemy.
existed back then already.
Yeah, it started maybe 2 years prior to when
Oh.
I started. And by the way, to give you like the full story transparently, the reason I started building courses was because I got an email from my friend, and the title of the email said "The Gold Mine," and the email, in the email he mentioned Udemy, and he said, "Yo guys, we should give this platform a shot. This could be like the next big thing." And that's the reason I started. And nowadays people ask me, "Hey, what about publishing courses yourself? What about doing high ticket and this and this and that? Why didn't you start like that? Why did you give a percentage to your crew? Did it really make sense?" I'm like, guys, that was 10 years ago. No one really knew about online courses. Like I was just trying to get my feet wet, right? And when you hear about a platform with pre-existing audience, and you can create a course and publish and you get direct access to real people who have their credit cards in, well, you go for it. You're not like overthinking like hundreds of different options. And then guess what? When it starts working, what do? Do you just like try to forcefully find a different path? No, if something is working, you keep putting fuel into the fire, right?
And now you're a Udemy partner, but would you still recommend starting course creators to use Udemy?
Well, this is a good question, and there's different ways I can approach it. Let me ask you a question, right? What is the best car?
The car I like, I guess.
Car you like? No, but what is like the coolest, the best car? What is the best car for me? What do you think? What is the best car I can
You
buy?
look great in a G-Wagon.
Well, maybe I would look great, right? But is it really the best car for me? Well, it depends on what I need, right? It depends on my situation. If you may tell me G-Wagon, but if I tell you, well, you know what? I love speed and I just love to feel, the fresh air in my hair when I'm driving, which is, by the way, the truth, right? Probably a cabrio. Different people have different needs. And when I get on stages, even at Mind Valley here, I ask people this question. I show them pictures of 2 different cars. And this is fascinating. I show them a picture of a Bugatti. And I show them another picture of like some random, like I think Volkswagen type of camper van, And I ask people, I said, just be 100% honest with me, or 100% honest. If I told you I'm going to give you one of those cars for 5 years, you cannot sell it. You can only use it. Which one would you pick? And then I asked them, like, how many of you would pick the one on the left? How many of you would pick the one on the right? A lot of people, I think it was actually more people would have picked the Volkswagen, right? Versus the Bugatti. They were like, oh yeah, I want the camper van, right? When I do this on the Nomad conferences, almost everyone is like, yeah, I want the camper van. Like I personally, I would have gone for Bugatti because I like speed.
Yeah.
I like that. That's just how I am. But it's interesting that...
Wait, who pays for the fuel?
Yeah, that's a good one. Now everything is taken care of. Everything is taken care of, right? But it's interesting because Bugatti, they go for like $1 million plus, and Volkswagen, what, 20 grand, 30, 40 grand, right? The difference is massive. So when you look at the nominal value, everyone would say, well, Bugatti, of course, but it's not about that. It's about the needs, right? If you are a father of 5, you can't fit all of those kids in a Bugatti, right? Like you're gonna have a nice car, but you can't drive it. So the point I'm trying to make is platforms are not inherently good or bad. They just are. It's about what you want to get out of the platform. It's about your situation. So for example, if you have an existing audience, so you have an email list and you have a big social media following, You have a lot of flexibility. You can do whatever you want. You can use Udemy, you can use Kajabi, Thinkific, Teachable. There's so many platforms you can play with, right? You can create low ticket, high ticket courses, subscriptions. You have all the freedom in the world, which is great. But what if you're just getting started? What if you are 47 years old and you don't know much about technology and you don't want to learn about technology and you barely have any time and you have a full-time job, but there's something you're passionate about and you want to teach it? And you don't want to make millions. Well, it would be great, but you're not aiming for that. What you want to make is you want to make an extra $1,000 per month. Why? So once a year, you can take your wife and you can go on a long trip, and go backpacking in Latin America for 2 months. And you need that extra $1,000 per month coming as a semi-passive income. Do you now suddenly, put your life on pause and start building landing pages and start cultivating your audience and running marketing campaigns? Will you actually realistically do that? A lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to do that. Well, how many people actually follow through on that? Most of them just quit, right? Mm-hmm. Well, in that case, it's probably easier just to put your stuff on a marketplace like Udemy, get access to that audience and get your feet wet and then see what happens. So again, it all depends on your situation.
Is the audience actually like a big factor on Udemy? Like I can imagine like 10 years ago, yes, but now I think there's like just so many courses that like it's so hard to stand out in a marketplace like that.
This is interesting because people often say, hey man, there are more and more courses, and yeah, it's true. There's more and more competition, especially now with AI, right? I mean, people like batch create
now it's like
courses.
crazy.
It's nuts. However, more and more people take online courses.
Yeah.
So they've got I think now they have almost 60 million people on Udemy, and more people take online courses. And people now, use, I mean, at least that's what I do. When I listen to books or watch courses, it's at least double X, sometimes 3X the speed. If somebody's a slow talker, I 3X that thing, and I listen to it while working out, right? So people can consume more information. So there are two sides. Well, actually, there are even more sides to the equation. And I feel like ultimately you gotta ask yourself a question, right? Like, do you have something unique you want to share with the world, right? I don't think everyone should be a teacher, right? We live in a world where everyone wants to have a mic. We see it on social media, right? Everyone has a damn opinion about everything. I have my strong opinions about things I know. Do I have opinions on everything? Ask me about politics. I'm not gonna even engage because I don't know much about it. And I don't plan to, right? So yes, we live in this world where everyone wants to get a mic and talk about everything. No, you gotta ask yourself, what is it that you really know? Like deep inside, you are an expert. Don't need to be the best in the world, as we talked about before, but you are an expert. You have your own unique value. You have your own unique flavor, personality, and you can help people with it, right? And if you have that, then man, you just got to go for it, because otherwise you always ask yourself, what if, right? We could keep going down those rabbit holes. Oh, will this work? Is there too much competition? Isn't it too late? But ultimately, if you don't try, you will never know. And there are so many side benefits of building content that people don't consider. So let's say you create a course. Let's say you really put your all into it. You publish it. Maybe you publish one on Udemy and you build a bigger version, you use Kajabi, right? And you sell it for a higher price. And you make $100. And that's it. You don't make any more. And you tweak things around, 110, 120, and then back to 50. That feels like a failure. Well, guess what? You've learned a ton. You certainly became a better teacher, because in order to teach something, you have to clarify your thoughts, right? You have to package everything that you know. So that in itself is extremely valuable. On top of that, even if you have a course out there that doesn't make a lot of money, but it's well produced, it's well presented, it improves your brand. For instance, you want to get on stages. One of the best ways to do is to actually have an online course, right? Any conference organizer will trust you more than someone who just claims that, yeah, I want to get on a stage. I'm great on stages. I'm great in front of a camera. Show me the proof. Where is the proof, right? But when you have a course and you can say, listen, I want to speak at your conference. Here is my 3-hour course. And they see you present, or they see you on a podcast, right? Talking to people. They're like, well, this person knows how to talk. They can feel your energy. Are more likely to book that. You want to get a new client, say you do consulting, maybe you do coaching, right? Well, when you have a course, you can actually create a free coupon code and you can send it to your potential clients. And you can say, hey, whatever, John, this is my premium course and I would like to gift it to you. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of value to you. Here is a free access. By the way, the code is going to expire in the next 48 hours. So get on it right away. And I'm curious specifically what you think about lecture 5, because I feel like that lecture will be very valuable to you. And you send it over, and guess what? Are you making money? Not right now, but are you making money in long term? Hell yeah. If you do it with enough people, some of those people, just for pure reciprocity, they're going to be like, oh, you just gave me your course for free. I want to do something for you. So even if they don't become your client, they don't buy your other things, they may recommend you to someone, right? But some of those people will look into the course and they're going to think, like, this guy really knows his stuff. The way he presents, I like it. I want to work with this guy. And now you have a client. And guess what? You can actually charge higher fees because that person doesn't know how much you are making from those courses, right? So maybe you gave away, I don't know, 500 coupon codes for free, right? And the price tag on the course is, say, $99. No one is really digging into your life so deeply to realize, well, these are actually free coupon codes. No, they assume, well, 500 students, $99, there are some reviews there, you are making money. So I can't pay you $20 per hour. Come on, man. I can't offend you, right? So your prices go up. Now, as you go to higher level, as you really start teaching a lot of people, you have a lot of courses, that's when people know for a fact you are making money on this stuff, right? When I deal with people, consulting clients, they know, they're like, okay, this guy sold almost 500,000 people, right? He has some money, right? I can't offend him with a lower price. If I want to get this guy on a stage, I can't tell him, bro, just come speak on my stage for branding. They're like, it doesn't need my stage for branding. I got to pay the guy. So it makes things so much easier. Does it resonate?
Yeah. I got a story time for you now.
Yeah, tell me,
So
man. I'm curious.
3 years ago, I wrote and published. Well, I started writing it like 5 years ago. 3 years ago, I published a book. It's called Mastering Fasting. It was supposed to initially be a blog post or like an Instagram post.
Yeah.
Then it was a blog post. Then it was a longer article. Then it became like a course. And ultimately, I finished up with a book. Then I wanted to launch the book. I was put in touch with this guy who has launched New York Times bestsellers. I paid him. I was working with him. Things started dragging. Things didn't work out.
Yeah.
Things were slow. And at some point, he just stopped and ran with all the money that I paid him without actually doing anything.
Oh, wow.
So that left me kind of in a slump, and I didn't want to deal or do anything with the book because no way I'm going to get my money back from somebody in the US, right? Being here then I was in Portugal. So I just like left the books in the US in some warehouse, and I had some in Estonia. So altogether, like maybe 1,000 books printed, and they're in the boxes right behind you. So you see the stack there?
Oh, they're still there?
Yeah. So they got shipped back to Estonia just a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
So I figured like, okay, I have to do something with this. Otherwise, because my promise to myself when I was writing the book, I identified my own self-sabotage, and that was the thing of taking something to 99% and then not launching. So I had to launch this book. I had to see it through. But I launched the book, but I didn't still follow it through in a way that I didn't sell these books. I didn't actually put effort into it. So I created a landing page. And I already have a course and everything created. And I started selling the books and also selling the course on the landing page. Even though I sold 200 books, 0 people converted to the course.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have a long landing page and sales and everything. I guess maybe the price point was wrong and all these things. They still have to test it. But Jesus, man, it's just been a headache. It's like building these things out and like worrying about this. But I'm thinking now, I can still create a course because it's like written. I could sit down here, stare into that camera, film the 7-day challenge. It's a challenge. And just like, would there be any point in just like from your expertise asking advice now, because I have this opportunity here. Should I just shoot it and release it on YouTube for free?
Okay.
Is there any benefit to that?
That's a good question. Well, I think there's always a benefit of, again, testing, going back to testing, right? So, okay, let me put it this way, right? It's so interesting that people have no qualms about making more and more content for IG, for YouTube, right? People just keep posting, oh, let's make more YouTube videos. Let's do more podcasts. But when it comes to like offering free courses or even regular courses, they're like, oh my God, if I'm going to build this course, it's one. I'm going to release it, and that's what is there. No, you can always build more. You have all this knowledge in your head, right? You have so many different angles. You could probably build 40 different courses, right? So I don't see any downside to releasing something like this. In fact, the way I treat course creation is a little bit like premium, like next level premium YouTube. That's how I look at it. In the past, a lot of people were focusing on like massive launches, putting a lot of pressure. Let's make 1 million by the moon and by the noon, right? And you know, some people did that, and it's great, right, to see that, like the Frank Kerns of the world. But I feel like nowadays people put just too much pressure on themselves to make like that one perfect crisp launch. Instead of doing that, why not embrace more of a volume approach, you know, more of a ongoing approach where instead of having this pressure, release a 7 video series or 12 or 15 video series for free and dump it everywhere, right? You can put it for free on YouTube, release it as a series. At the same time, with a different format, you put it on IG, you put it on LinkedIn. You can put all of those videos on Udemy as well. So it's non-exclusive platform. You can put it in there and release it for free. And then what happens is that obviously build up your social media. Then you want to capture people's emails. So you tell people, hey, you know, like if you enjoy this, you know.
Can you capture emails on Udemy?
It's tricky. You can't do it directly, but you have access to their emails. So they have a database on Udemy and you can email people via Udemy.
Okay.
But you can still, in your course, you can mention your website. You can have a watermark with your website. In the last lecture, you can tell people, click on the PDF and all the links are in there. So you can send them directly to your email list. You can do that. But my point is that let's think multi-dimensionally. Let's really think about repurposing stuff. A lot of us, we think one-dimensionally. We feel like, well, I'm going to make some content for YouTube and that's it, or for Instagram and that's it. No, why not why not start with the highest value thing, which is the course, right? I'm going to build a course. I'm going to build a video series and then just dump it everywhere. And you get all of those side benefits, right? You get emails, you get more social media following, you build your Udemy following as well. You build your brand, right? When people click on your Udemy profile, they see, 574 students and 25-star reviews. How cool is that, right? It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be all at the same time. And then you get your feet wet, you learn from the experience, and then you create more. And as we talked at the beginning, you learn from your audience. They tell you, hey man, this is great, but I'm missing something. Here are some of the things I'm missing. And maybe another person tells you, you know, this is an awesome course, but I'm very visual. Can you like create some PDFs for me? Which, by the way, happened to me. You know, people would say, you know, you keep talking to the camera, it's great, but we want something visual. So guess what? I create a bunch of summary PDFs. Most of my courses, I actually got to check, you know, because I say most, all of them should have it. So I need to look into it. But there's summary PDFs for those who are more visual. They download them, they can print them out, and you've got literally bullet point summaries of the courses, right? But I did it because of my audience, listening to my audience, right? Maybe someone else will tell you, hey, you know, I love to listen to this stuff while I'm on the go. Can you create like just the audio version that doesn't weight too much, that I can put on my phone and listen to it? Like these are just random ideas I'm popping right now, but that's how you learn what people really want. And then guess what? A month later, you may decide, you know what? Let me put all of this together and build a better version of this course, or maybe hit it from a different angle for a different audience, right? And then you can try to pre-sell it, right? But let's say worst case scenario, you launch it and it still doesn't work that well. Let's say you launch the second course as a paid course and it doesn't make much money. It doesn't do too well. You know what you can do? You can still take all of that and you can release it out there to collect even more emails. And again, keep learning from the process.
And is emails the main thing that you're growing?
I mean, that's one of the things you want to grow, right?
But for you, what is the main thing that you're focusing on?
I don't think there's one main thing for me. It's just a spectrum, right? It's a bunch of different things. You want to build your brand. You want to build your following on different platforms. You want to build your email list. You want to build all of those things. And the cool thing is that you can do it all at the same time. You don't have to pick and choose. And a lot of us, when I talk to aspiring course creators, they always get stuck. Not always, but often get stuck in this idea. I have to pick my shots. No, you don't. Like, you can do all of that. Nowadays, it's just so easy to do all of that at the same time. You know, there are tools out there. You know, you publish to all social media at the same time, right? Nowadays, it's just so easy. I remember back in the day when I got started. I mean, that was, okay, when was it? 12 years ago, like my first YouTube videos, okay? I remember I used this camcorder. I got it from my ex. You know, I couldn't even afford a camcorder. She gave me like a, Christmas gift, like very basic camcorder. And I was making videos, went to Rio with my friends, backpacking, cheap trip, across Latin America. And I would film a bunch of stuff, no microphone, just like, proper street style, like, hey guys, what's going on? And I would try to edit those videos myself on like some old computer. damn, like days and days sometimes, you know, like you try to upload the footage in there and it's crashing. Let's try again. It's crashing again. Oh, now it's uploaded in there on the timeline. Let's try to edit this out. And, you know, you're making some progress and then the program crashes. And you're like, you feel like someone just stabbed you right in the chest, right? You know the feeling. And, you know, and eventually after a couple of days, you have that one video. I mean, these were the times. Nowadays, you pull out any phone, you can get a $20, $30 mic, you clip it in. That's it, you know? Solid video. We have a great setup here, and this is nice, but it's no longer necessary.
Yeah, the barrier of entry is so low now.
Dude, it's so low. Yeah. And here's the danger, right? And I've seen this in so many different industries as well. Because it's so low, I noticed that it's almost like people have this expectation that they're just gonna randomly come up with content, dump it out there, and they're gonna make a shit ton of money. That's the other side of the equation, right? But I'm like, well, if you went into sports, so you want to become a boxer, like, would you expect that you're gonna do a month of training, a couple of sparring sessions, and you're gonna go out there into the ring? It doesn't work like that, right? You gotta like really push forward. You have to have the consistency. You have to do it for a certain amount of time in order to even entertain the idea of going out there into the ring professionally, right? So how come that when it comes to course creation, publishing books, becoming a speaker, building your thought leadership brand, oftentimes we assume, oh, you know, it has to be like this. You know, there's a process. I'm going to follow it and I'm going to make it happen right away. And that's the dark side of the equation. When people, you know, yes, it's easier than ever to make those things happen, but it's not just easier for you. It's easier for everyone else. Yeah. So you got to stand out somehow. Right, you gotta, and that's something people are missing.
Wait, how old is your dad?
My dad he's gonna be 60 soon.
And you got him into creating courses as well.
I did.
So how did you work all this stuff out for him? Because he's pretty successful as well right now, right?
Yeah. So this.
Wait, share the numbers as well. How successful is he? What are his numbers then?
He is teaching over 160,000 people now.
Damn.
Yeah, it's crazy. And if I told him this back in the day, he would be like, this. Not even possible, you know. But I'm glad you brought it up. Were you there? No, were you there at my talk at Mindvalley?
No, I met your dad at the author dinner.
Okay, okay, yeah.
Like when we were standing outside.
Yeah. I figure I'm gonna bring him in. You know, I'm trying to get people to know him a little bit here in this community. But I got him to the stage actually when I was presenting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I got him. He didn't expect. I got him to the stage.
I'm sorry, I skipped all the talks. I was in the office working.
Then I get it. I know you're editing the podcast, all that stuff, but I got him on a stage. But it's interesting because when he was on a stage in front of all of those people, I asked him like, what would you say back in the day if I like told you you'd be on a stage like this with your stats behind on a slide with all of those people, you know, like I think the capacity in that room is like 1,000 people, all those people looking at you. He is like, yeah, like, you know, like I didn't believe it was possible, but sometimes you need someone to believe in you. And I really believed in him, right? Like when you get into online education and you see the types of courses that people create and you know someone with true value to offer, sometimes you have to pull it out of them, right? Oftentimes we don't believe in ourselves enough and we need somebody to pull those things out of us. That's what happened with my father. You know, my father is a tremendous character. I mean, he went through a lot of shit in life. Went to Poland when he was 18 from Guyana on a scholarship. They fed him this lie that if you go to Poland and study medicine, you're going to make a ton of money. Completely not true, you know. Then, you know, fast forward, you know, living in this post-communistic flat infested with cockroaches, wondering where is my Polish dream, right? So anyhow, so he went for that, then he quit medicine because there was no money in it, right? He was working as a school teacher, then he got into corporate world, right? He tried a bunch of different things. Then he reinvented himself, started doing IT. He could not type, but he lost his clients, so he's like, okay, I need to learn this stuff. So he went for a lot, and I'm like, dude, you gotta, and we are like friends, you know, so I literally say, dude, you gotta share your knowledge with the world. And, you know, and similar limiting beliefs to a lot of people, like, why would anybody listen to me? Am I not too old? I mean, look at me, like, I'm not in my 30s, you know, like, I'm in my 50s. Why me? But again, like Eric Edmeades always says, right? The butterfly can't see its own wings. So you gotta, I needed to make him realize that he has the wings. And the next thing you know, bam, 160,000 people. Now imagine what would have happened if he didn't pull the trigger, right? And it's not about his transformation, but imagine how the lives of those 160,000 people would have been different, Right? Obviously, everyone was impacted by him to different extents, but there are people out there who really got tremendously impacted by him. What would be happening to those people right now if he didn't pull the trigger, right? And I always tell people, when you're thinking about building online courses or writing a book or starting a podcast or sharing your knowledge with the world, your experiences in any form, always ask yourself, what is the responsibility that you have in terms of providing to the community? Because there is a responsibility. You have a gift that you have to share. And I always tell people, like, think about those who really impacted you in your lives, right? Like, think about people who had a tremendous impact on you. For me, it was Tim Ferriss, who wrote the Bible.
Same here.
Yeah, he wrote the Bible, the 4-hour work with the Bible of digital nomads. Read it, right?
I used to listen to him religiously. I think I've listened to like most of his episodes on his podcast.
Oh,
like
yeah,
hundreds
man.
of them, yeah.
I feel you. And that book completely, it just opened the doors to new
He
possibilities.
woke me up as well, like here, to the possibilities of entrepreneurship and actually doing it and changing your mind, and to the idea of that I can be also successful.
Yeah, 100%. I resonate. Like, I remember my first travels before starting the business, when I read that book, when I was in Latin America, right? Like, I remember I'm in Buenos Aires and we're gonna go dance tango, and I remember he was talking about tango. And I'm like, I want this life. It's this hunger, right? Like, he made me hungry. I'm like, this is possible. This guy did it. Other people did all those case studies. You realize this is possible. But now my question is, what if Tim Ferriss couldn't find the guts to publish that book? Because he got rejected by a lot of publishers, 20-something publishers, right? Imagine, what if he didn't find the guts to actually publish that book? We probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Or his podcast or anything after that, yeah.
Dude, like, our lives would have been completely different. Who knows? I probably wouldn't have my courses. Maybe I would have taken a different path. The trajectory would have been different. You wouldn't have been helping all of those people with your stuff. So the ripple effect is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Think about Vishen, right? We all part of Mind Valley. We came to this event here. I mean, on the stage, I showed picture of him like from 20 years ago, like the skinny kid sitting there in front of the laptop, and I asked people, like, what if this guy didn't find the courage to start Mind Valley? Or what if he gave up? Like, none of us would be here right now. And I think it's important to think about those types of people and situations in the context of our lives and, the responsibility we have to other people. And I feel like oftentimes as humans, we tend to focus on what we don't have, right? How other people are better than us. We tend to overestimate others and underestimate ourselves. What a profound thing to actually think about yourself and kind of zoom out of your life and then fast forward into the future and imagine yourself 10 years from now. What's going to happen if you live with courage? If you actually decide, I'm not going to overthink this shit, but if I have something in me, I'm just going to put it out there and see what happens. Oh, you have a course? Okay, let's just put it out there. Just put it. Oh, you want to do a podcast? Let's just jump on it. Let's get a basic mic, sit with my buddy, make it happen. Don't need the perfect equipment yet, right? What if I keep living with courage, where I'm gonna be in 10 years from now, and how will I impact those people? And then make that vision really vivid and ask yourself, how am I actually helping the people? How am I contributing to the world? And then go back again and then ask yourself, holy shit, imagine none of that happening.
Yeah.
Imagine, it's crazy, right?
I think like a bias for action is a complete superpower. It's just like, just get it out and do it. Doesn't matter the consequences.
No, yeah, just the envisioning part just resonated with me a lot. Like, I remember when Vision first released like the 6-phase meditation, and when I discovered it, changed my life. I think, like, just visioning your future, and like it changed my behavior so much. Like, I became so much of a better person, I think. And so much more productive. Kind of giving me the chills.
I feel you. I feel you, bro. And
need to go back to it, I think.
There's also another big lesson in this, right? And it's this. A lot of people, when they ponder releasing their knowledge into the world, they focus too much on themselves, right? It's like, how will I look? What if I'm going to fail? What if this is not going to work? What if this is not going to make money? There's just so much focus internally, right? What will I get out of it? But I feel like this real secret is to really obsess over helping your audience. Like, you got to figure out what it is that you want to give to your audience, who is your audience, and just obsess over helping your audience. And if you keep doing that, the money's going to come, right? Because if you help a lot of people, it's almost impossible not to make money, right? But it's kind of like the way people operate oftentimes is the equivalent of, me wanting to run a marathon, for example, and then looking at my legs and being like, yo, can you get fucking stronger and can you grow because I want to run a marathon? It doesn't work like that. No. Like, I get stronger legs and stronger cardiovascular system by training. It's the other way around. Same with inspiration. A lot of people say, well, I want to get inspired to write. Well, when you talk to some of the best-selling writers out there, they say, well, you don't wait for the inspiration, you trigger inspiration by doing the thing that you actually want to be doing. Mm-hmm. And no judgment. Neil Strauss came here. He left a couple of days ago, had some great conversations with him. I mean, Neil Strauss, he wrote like 10 best-selling books, right? And I told him, I gave him my book and I said, dude, I want to commit to you, like, because I'm a fan of your work, so I want to commit to you. This year, I'm going to publish another book. And by the way, this is like an extra commitment that I'm doing here on this podcast. And I said, this year I'm going to release another book. And I asked him, do you think I should, because I self-published the previous one, do you think I should just get for traditional publisher? And he said, you know what, man, just get it done and then think about it. Because, it's already half of the year. Send it over, just make it happen and then figure it out. And the point is, you just got to get into it. Just got to get into it and focus on the value you want to produce. And then you figure out all the little details. So just to full circle to the point I tried to make about the impact. This applies also to, getting out there on a stage, for example, speaking in public. People are afraid of it. But if you focus on yourself, if you focus on how you're going to look and how people may reject you, of course you're going to be afraid. And you're probably going to do a shitty job. But if you focus on the value you want to give to your audience, you are just the vehicle for creating transformation. And here is a thought experiment. And this is, I want to finalize it like this. So powerful. Imagine you are afraid of public speaking, for instance, right? You don't like it. Now imagine that there is an audience of 10,000 rich people. And you happen to be there, and the conference organizer comes up to you, and you're not ready for it. You're not dressed up for it. You haven't prepped for it. And the organizer tells you, you know what? I know that one of your family members is dying and needs an operation, right? And the operation costs, say, $2 million. So I know that you are going through this right now. I'm going to give you an opportunity to get to that stage for 60 seconds to try to get enough money for that operation for your family member. Now, would you go there, or would you be too stressed out to get on a stage? Of course you would go there. Would you feel anxious? Well, maybe a little bit, but it doesn't matter. You're on a mission. Like, you need a bunch of money for one of your family members. You got this opportunity now to pitch this to all those rich people out there. You're going to grab that mic, you get on a stage, happy you have an opportunity. You tell people why you need the money, and you focus on the transformation. You focus on getting that benefit for your loved one, not on yourself. And I feel like when your message is important enough, when you really believe in what you teach, when you feel like there's something bigger you want to contribute into this world, a lot of that fear that we have just disappears, and a lot of complexity disappears. Because it's no longer about what is the best platform, what is the best price point, how can I maximize how much money I make. It's like, no, how can I maximize the value? How can I really help my audience? And honestly, usually the answer is the more the better. Going out there, making a decision, I'm gonna obsess over it, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm in doubt, should I film 5 videos or 10 videos? Let me make 15 videos. Yeah, right? Like that's do you guys feel it?
Yeah,
do you resonate?
I get it. And the more you do, the better you get, the better quality stuff you're gonna create, the more audience feedback and input you're gonna get, ultimately feeding in and of itself.
Exactly. But cool experiment when you look at those famous YouTube channels, like, just look at how many videos they have. Same with Instagram accounts, right? Look at them, a bunch of fake ones, but look at the ones that you really enjoy, that you get value from. See the number of videos they have, the number of posts. And then a cool experiment is to go to their first posts.
And accidentally like it.
It's yeah, but it's crazy, right? Modern Wisdom, Chris Williamson, right? You probably know this podcast, Modern Wisdom. He recently blew up. But I was curious. He's a cool guy. I like the way he interviews. But I was curious. I went to his initial podcasts, and it's like proper grimy. It's like, it's just like 2 guys chilling. When you look at Joe Rogan and his first podcast, I mean, it's just like,
that was the early days. That was like so.
Bunch of guys getting high, and just like the camera happens to be there, and like it doesn't work all the time. But you get the reps in. and then eventually you become
And
good.
now he's so unbelievably good.
Yeah.
Like the best interviewer out there, kind of, in a sense.
That's true, but it's the sheer repetition.
Yeah.
And for example, when I get on stages, oftentimes people ask me like, dude, how did you get so good on a stage? Well, failing a lot of the times, like doing it like hundreds and hundreds of times, right? And being able to initially speak to everyone. Oh, you want me to speak at AA gathering? I mean, I've never been an alcoholic, but fuck it, let's do it,
Yeah.
You want me to speak to a bunch of kids in a foreign language? Bring it on, let's do it, You just got to be open and just get in the reps.
But that's the thing as well. I had because you gave me advice as well. I had the idea that I'm gonna go on the stage, get familiar with the stage, get familiar with the room before this presentation. Because what was there, like 300 people in the audience locally, and like tens of thousands or 10,000 at least online watching live. And my idea was, I'm just gonna go there once, get used to it. Then you sent me a voice message, hey, dude, get up there like 2 more times at least. Film yourself, look at the film the audience, look at the video when you're practicing. And I did that, and I feel that like really helped me. And I didn't actually feel nervous even on the stage. Well, I did have some sort of like low level anxiety, because like it was hard to get my breakfast down, but I wasn't feeling nervous. I didn't have the shakes, I didn't have like strong butterflies. And when I was in the room as well, like before getting on the stage, I was calm. And maybe like very slight nervousness. And then Vision, out of the blue, invited me on stage before my actual time to talk, and that diffused everything. So when I finally went on stage, because I had already stepped on there for a second as well to answer a few audience questions, it was completely smooth, completely chill, like zero emotions at all. It's just like I was happy to be there, and I was excited to get it on.
Yeah, that is the trick. It's like, it's interesting you mentioned this, comfort zone is kind of like with cold water, right? You guys ever tried an ice bath?
Yeah.
That's
how I met Miriam. We were winter swimming.
It's awesome. Yes, I do ice baths. I love ice baths, but you know very well, right? When you get into ice bath for the first time, it's like, I need to jump out, right?
Yeah.
Like your fight or flight is just like bam, full power. It's like, dude, you gotta get out of there. You're gonna die. But it's interesting because once you calm yourself down, once you let go, there's a point where it's just smooth sailing. But most people don't get there, and they overthink the first 10, 15, 20 seconds. But sometimes it's just about switching off your thinking and just getting in and just accepting. Yeah, the first 20, 30, it depends on the person as well, right? The first seconds or the first minute is going to be really tough.
The more you tense up, the worse it's going to get as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? It's counterintuitive. But once you accept it, and then you just, okay, let's just get in, you realize it wasn't as bad as I thought it's going to be, right? I feel like when it comes to producing content, getting yourself out there, building a business, usually the perception of fear is way worse than the actual thing that happens, right? Like, and that fear ends up building up. Like the more we think about it without doing anything, the more it builds up. And then at some point it gets overwhelming, and we tend to create those scenarios in our heads that are mostly negative. It's sometimes literally just about, again, focusing on me being the vehicle to help other people, figuring out what are those people, and then going out there and helping them. And that's what it's all about, right? And then you get the reps in, and once you pull the trigger, you realize it wasn't as scary as I thought. Like, a lot of people tell me, hey man, what if I publish my course and I get a shit ton of negative reviews? I'm like, oh, that would be great, because that means a lot of people buy your stuff, right? But like, why do you assume like you're gonna get like 1,000 negative reviews like this? Because if you get 1,000 negative reviews, well, it means probably a couple of 100,000 people bought your stuff. How can you possibly assume it's gonna happen like this? You know how much work it takes? You know how many people out there, they're invisible, and they work their asses off on creating a viral video, and then they post it and it's like 37 views. So I think we really overthink the negative consequences, and we blow them out of proportion. And also forgetting that people are too busy thinking about themselves. Like, how many, like, let me ask you actually.
That's quick interruption. That's the thing as well. You might get like hundreds of good reviews, positive reviews, good comments. And then there's this one shitty comment, and that cuts through everything sometimes if you put your heart and soul into it.
But that doesn't matter. Honestly,
it doesn't matter. You have to learn not to
the important thing is not to even pay attention.
Dude, we created TikTok videos with Miriam. We had like 2 accounts, completely zero, scaled up to 120. I think it's around 140,000 followers now between both of the accounts. We got like multiple videos to millions of views and everything. And the amount of comments, because the theme was kind of controversial as well, like environmental toxins and healthy home, and everyone and their grandma has an opinion about what's healthy and what's not healthy. And people are, for some reason, this like really strikes their identity. So the amount of shitty comments I went through there, Miriam stopped paying attention because she couldn't take it. I was there commenting and picking fights on purpose, because if they keep commenting, my video keeps getting boosted.
It helps the algorithm a lot.
Interesting. Okay, so that's clever.
Because the video is playing in the background constantly.
But you know what? I personally feel like whatever you focus on, that's where the energy ends up going, right?
Yeah.
So if you focus, and you probably notice in big crowds, right? If someone is recently, we had a situation, actually we were eating a lunch, and this is a drunk guy, maybe high, I don't know, but he kept coming up to us and talking shit, right? And at some point we realized, we just have to ignore this dude. And, sometimes people stop getting attention, they move away. But when they get attention from you, now they want to. But, it makes sense for algorithms, but it also depends how it affects you.
Still took a toll, It's I didn't feel good doing it, but I was just arguing with them. Because, like, if something's... That's the thing. People have this perception, and this is my opinion here, that when you're putting stuff up online, when you get a shitty comment, you have to be the bigger person and accept this as criticism and all these things. Fuck that. If you're out of nowhere, come to insult my work and leave me shitty comments on my channel, it's like coming up to my house and shitting on my porch. I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself.
Well, but that's one way of thinking. The way I see
that's
it...
my thinking.
But here's a reframe. Here's the way... I tell you how I see it, right? Okay. I tell you how I see it. I've been getting all types of comments and ratings on my courses.
Yeah, probably don't do it under the course.
That are... don't do it under the course. But are just absolutely ridiculous. Imagine you have a course that has like literally tens of thousands of like 5-star ratings, and it's top production quality, and it's like top ratings, and from like really top people as well, right? And you really did your best, and then someone gives you 1-star rating and says like, oh, I'm surprised this is not in Portuguese, or like, I would like it better if like there was no wind in the background because the tree was like moving in the background of the wind. It's like, I mean, it must be crazy. But now, if I choose to entertain that and get into it, that person is really winning. I'm losing my time. Like time is running out. Like I have this sense of urgency about time, and whatever you spend your time on, like that is gone. That is always an opportunity cost. So when there's a negative comment, when there's a shitty rating, when there's something hateful, the way I see it is we feel like we're pulled into it. I need to do something about it. Actually, the best thing you can do about it is to let it slide off you and live your best life. And I tell you what, man, honestly, like we feel like it's not that much time, but it may be only 10 seconds of you reading, but it's going to amount possibly to hours of negative internal dialogue that got triggered because of that. And the way you handle it is you just outsource dealing with those types of reviews and comments.
2 things. That type of stuff I ignore. If it's very shitty, something like unreasonably shitty, I delete it. If it's something stupid, I ignore it. The ones that I respond to are these... when I see people have been putting in some effort to write a criticism but being an asshole about it, I'm presenting some sort of a theory, and then they bombard in with, like, not a theory, but something that I read, this study said this thing, but it's controversial to some people. Then they bar it and you're completely wrong, you're an idiot, you don't know anything. Like all these things, when it's a long ass thing, kind of like they're trying to debunk you and say that you're a quack or making shit up or whatever, that this is not real. And I have the studies, I have the things, and obviously that person is wrong. Then I'm gonna tell them that they're wrong, in a sense that because I'm trying to help people, and then you're trying to refute my content, and I don't know. And often I don't put that much energy into it. I mostly did it for the algorithm as well. I did understand that it was getting to me mentally as well, sometimes just like dealing with the negativity. But now I often just let ChatGPT type of response.
Yeah, but have you noticed, because here's the point I'm trying to make, have you noticed that oftentimes we pay attention to those haters. And yes, I get it. I get the point. They're trying to debunk you and you want to answer to that. But now you are taking maybe, even if it's 5 minutes of your time and energy to respond to the hater. There are people out there who love your stuff and they would love to get a message from, they love to get answer to their question. These are people who actually love your content. They follow you. They appreciate you. They've been supporting you. But now you have no time for those people. Right? So that's how I see it. So the way I deal with this.
Add more context. I was replying to everything because on TikTok, the way you wanna, if you wanna grow, you just reply to literally everything and start the conversations.
No, but it makes sense. It makes I get it. But specifically for course creation, if you start getting
don't do this with don't do this in Udemy, as Carl mentioned as well.
Yeah, but
if
you get high volume and with social media as well, like I recommend having a VA. Yeah. And I like to read comments and like respond to legitimate comments and constructive criticism. Listen, if somebody gives me 3-star rating and says, in general it's a great course, but this is missing and I wish I had more of that. If there's some great feedback in there, awesome. I'm always happy to learn. I'm definitely far from perfect, right? But in order to get to that, I would have to go through a whole bunch of shit, which I don't want to have that stuff in my head. So you have an assistant who filters comments.
It's not personal for them at all.
Yeah, it's not personal for them, so they filter it. And like, for example, on Udemy, you can actually filter by stars. So it depends. If you have, if you're having a bad day or anyway, you probably don't want to filter for 1-star ratings. You probably don't want to deal with this, right?
That's another trick from Tim Ferriss. Ignore the 1-star reviews, ignore the 5-star reviews. Look at only the in between 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah,
and 3 and 4 are usually the most thoughtful ones.
That is true. Yeah, that is usually the case. But I feel like outsourcing in this case, getting someone to help you with filtering, and then you can really put some effort into the stuff that really matters. But also you can create templates for your assistant for those really extreme ratings. Someone posts an extreme rating, like my assistant would just respond. And if someone is really disrespectful, we flag it. But if someone is if it's like a wacky out of nowhere rating, but maybe there is some merit in it, then my assistant would just say something on the lines of, hey John, I'm sorry to hear that, you didn't get the value from this course, really put a lot of effort to make it as valuable as possible. Wondering what are action steps for your point I need to take to make this course a better course in your eyes or something like this, right? Or make it a 5-star course in your eyes. And it's interesting because I noticed that when you do it respectfully, some people change their rating after. I had situations, someone post 1-star rating and then you respectfully respond to them. Actually, it wouldn't be me, it would be my assistant, right? For the record. And then the rating is changed, maybe from 1-star to 3 or to 4, sometimes to 5. And that's when I realized, okay, that person didn't hate me or my content. They just were having a bad day.
Yeah, that's usually where shitty comments come from. Like no sane person is ever gonna go on somebody's profile or person in a good place and leave a shitty comment.
Yeah, dude, the way I see it, right? Like I'm a nomad. I traveled 10 years full-time, no home base. I love my life. I try to design my life to have a ton of adventure. I'm trying to find the time to actually connect with my friends that are already my friends. I'm trying to find extra time to read all of those books I want to read. Do you think I have the time to go on other people's posts and comment? People who are living their lives to the fullest, they don't have the time to write those bullshit comments, right? No one who's living their best life is a hater. No, usually haters are people who deep inside don't like something about themselves. And that's why another way to look at it is compassion angle. The way I like to see it is, today I did this thing for the teenagers. I talked to teenagers about confidence, and one of them said something interesting. I said, how do you deal with bullies? We talked about bullying a little bit. And she said, and she said something in the lines of, I feel bad for bullies. I'm like, interesting. Elaborate on this. And she said, well, if someone bullies me, they probably were bullied themselves. They probably had a really, terrible life. So I actually feel bad for them. And that's like a teenager kid, right? Very profound, but that's the reality, right? So one way also to remove the weight from negative comments and also the projection of possible negative comments and reviews in the future is to realize, well, when someone posts something terribly negative, just imagine someone who is deeply insecure in their parents' basement, sitting in an underwear, right? Really unhealthy, drinking 1 liter of Coke that's not even called, and just hating their lives and trying to find refuge for all of those negative emotions and hating on everyone. That person needs help.
And
when you think about it this way, it's like it removes any heaviness from this.
And on platforms that have a lot of emphasis on comments, if you can see the comments and then they're really prevalent, let's say on Twitter, on YouTube, if you look at them, then I think I would assume the broken windows theory comes into play as well, which is like, it comes from the US. They had this broken windows theory. I think it was associated with the police department in New York somehow, that the areas that had broken windows on the houses were more prone to crime.
Yeah.
So when they fixed the windows, the crime rates actually lowered.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you have a lot of shitty comments and arguments, people are like feel more inclined and free to leave shitty comments as well.
That is true.
I guess.
That is so true. It's I know the study you're talking about. It's fascinating.
So now that you have this best-selling course empire built and you've invested 10 years into this, what's next? Where do you want to take this?
That is a good question. And to be honest, I wish I could tell you clearly I want to get here and I want to get there, but I'm at the stage of my life where I'm actually trying to nail it down, man. Yeah, I'm gonna give you like a real answer. I have certain direction. I want to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm at this stage of my life, after 5-year relationship, moving different direction, changing a lot of things, where I'm literally right now in the process of nailing it down. Like, for sure, I want to do more of what I'm doing now. I love my life and I love what I do. So there won't be any radical change, just escalating what I'm doing right now, like 10xing, right? It would be nice to have a much bigger audience, make more impact. But at the same time, I do feel like there's time for something fresh, something new, and I'm trying to navigate what that's going to be. But yeah, for now, just bigger impact within what I'm already doing.
The topic of your courses, like, has it changed over time as well? Like, I know that you have like the confidence courses and then the course creation courses. Has there been anything else in between?
Yeah, so the flow of the topics was started with confidence courses. I did travel hacking as well early on because I'm a full-time traveler, but I always traveled, even traveled when I had no money. I hitchhiked across Europe for almost 1 month on 200 euros. Hitchhike and sleep on beaches, benches. So I've done a lot of crazy stuff in my life, right? So I built a bunch of those courses. Then I listened to my audience asking me, hey, we want to learn about this and this and that. As you're running your business, traveling full time, you need to learn about productivity. So I got really obsessed over, making the most of my time, right? The 80-20 principle, and then breaking it down into 80-20 of 80-20 and doing all of those different things. So I started teaching productivity as well. Then as I started speaking on different stages, overcame my fear of presenting, people started asking me, hey, dude, how did you do it? Like, how can you go from someone who's anxious about public speaking to getting on massive stages, right? So I started teaching that. So a lot of those things came along the way, and actually teaching people how to build courses came only very recently. In the past, I built a little product about course creation, but I never really paid much attention to it, right? I primarily focused on personal development, soft business skills. And then I met Vishen, we were in Berlin, we were actually chilling on a train, and we started talking. I was writing a book on course creation, and I asked him, hey man, what do you think about those possible titles? And that's when he realized how many people I'm teaching. And he's like, man, I've known you for so many years. I didn't know you teach so many people. How did you make it happen? So we started talking about it, and that's when we decided to build a product together. But it never started with that. That was just the byproduct of everything else I've been doing, and then recently, over the last, say, 2-3 years, I've been doing a lot of corporate training. In corporations, they wanted me to talk to them about resilient leadership. That's like one of the main topics. So naturally, I got into that, and I started building courses on that as well. But it's a mixture of course, what I've experienced, what I'm really passionate about, what I'm obsessing over, and the feedback from the audience. It always comes back to that, the feedback from the audience. What do they want from me? And if I don't know something that they want from me, I'm not gonna bullshit them. I tell them straight away, listen, this is not what I teach, but if I feel like what they want from me is something that I really have a deep experience in, I get my feet wet. I try to build courses on those topics. That's the path.
It's been a great conversation, and I know you have to run, but before you run, let's talk about your book, because your book is coming out. What's that about? And just give us the sales pitch.
The sales pitch.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, pinging my book here. Well, to be completely frank with you, the book wasn't written to make money. Okay, the book is on my impact bucket. So it's a book about course creation. It's a step-by-step process for building online courses. So from overcoming the limiting beliefs, right, all of those demons and self-deception mechanisms that we all have, to actually building a course and publishing a course. No upsells, no bullshit affiliate links in the book. It's literally almost 300 pages of pure value. It's called Course Creation Simplified. And it's written for anybody who has ever dabbled in this idea of building courses, right? Maybe you've been thinking about it, but some type of fear, complexity, confusion has been holding you back. If that's the case, this book is literally simplifying everything. So rather than giving people, 1,000 flashy tactics that they would probably never use, or promising them golden mountains like, hey, bro, you're going to read this book, you're going to make $1 million. I'm not doing that. What I promise is that if you wanted to build a course, if you've been thinking about it, but something is holding you back, I'm going to take something that feels like it's crazy mathematical equation that you can't possibly tackle, and I'm going to streamline it, put it together in such a way that it's simple. So I grab you by your hand and I say, you want to build a course, man? Great, let's make it happen. Let's break down your limiting beliefs. Let me show you that all of your worst case scenarios are just a bullshit in your head, that it's not a reality. Okay, cool, we fixed that? Great. How do we pick your topic? How do you figure out what to teach? How do you figure out your niche? Oh, you want to create a new niche? Let's figure out how to make it happen. Here is the process. Bam. How to figure out what is going to be your audience. How can you serve them? What is your avatar? How can you customize content to your avatar? Oh, now you have to pick a platform. Okay, let's figure it out. How to do it. How to film your content on any budget. How to present it with confidence, with charisma. Right? So I get into all of those things in the book.
Is the book out yet?
It's out. Yeah.
Okay, and what is the name, and where can the audience
find it? It's called Course Creation Simplified. So literally, like, even the title, when I was testing, because I test everything, I was testing different titles and covers and everything, and there are a couple of like favorites, but I realized, you know what, I'm not gonna even go with something too mysterious and too fancy. It's about simplifying the process. So Course Creation Simplified. Simple.
That's awesome.
That's what it is.
Course Creation Simplified by Jimmy Narraine on Amazon.
You can find it on Amazon, like Barnes and Nobles online. There's a bunch of it's on a bunch of online platforms. If you just type in Course Creation Simplified by Jimmy Narraine, you will find it. And probably show notes, you're gonna put the link as well, right? But it's easy. And if you want to find me anywhere, Instagram, LinkedIn, doesn't matter where it is, just use my name. Full name Jimmy Narraine. It's actually very simple. It's consistent across platforms. Once upon a time, when I was trying to make a decision, will I pursue one specific brand or my name? And I had a brand called Cool Life Design back in the day, but I realized, you know what? One thing that's gonna stick with me for the rest of my life is my name. And that's when I realized, I'm just gonna keep things really straightforward.
Awesome, man. Jimmy,
Thank you, guys.
Great having you.
I
Great
appreciate
conversation.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.